We've got barbecue back here. You're all invited. Welcome to the Sloopcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
All right, Jared. How are you doing today?
I have no complaints. We got some chaos. Not a lot of chaos, but some quality chaos. Some Pac-12 flavored chaos this week. We had some close calls elsewhere, but mostly some Pac-12 flavored chaos. Where do you want to start today, Kyle?
Oh, I guess we'll just go down the list here, Jared. I know there are some big important ones we should talk about first, but we'll go down the list that you have here, Jared.
All right.
All right. I guess first, it is a team chaos because Vanderbilt got their first win. Okay.
No, it isn't. Look, we can all now super duper officially stop pretending that Kentucky's good.
Yeah.
Right? If the first loss didn't do it, if the second loss didn't do it, if the third loss didn't do it, let their fourth loss of the year against Vanderbilt be evidence that no, Kentucky isn't a good football team.
Agreed.
We can all stop pretending now. It's okay.
All right. What about Notre Dame? Notre Dame escapes beating Navy 35-32.
I don't know. I was about to say in Notre Dame's defense, but I don't know if this is in defense or not. They had this game totally under control. And then Navy came back. And then Navy performed what was one of the absolute worst onside kick attempts I've ever seen in my entire life.
Oof.
Yeah. But yeah, Navy did a hell of a job making this interesting again. Because again, like Notre Dame had this, I think they were up like 35-10 or something fairly late in the game. And like Navy's not a team that's equipped to come back late. But they did it and Notre Dame let them.
All right. Next game here. Tennessee decides to play football in the second half.
Yeah.
Or the second quarter. I forget when exactly it was, but it was a close game, but then Tennessee decided to start playing and ended up just demolishing Missouri 66-24.
That happens, especially, you come right off of a huge game like Tennessee did against Georgia. You come out a bit flat when you're playing a team like Mizzou. It happens.
Yeah. It was 28-17 at halftime, and then Tennessee scored, what was that, 38 points in the second half.
Now this next one was no excuses here.
No excuses for LSU escaping Arkansas 13-10. No excuses for this one.
No, Arkansas is bad.
Bad.
Yeah. They're now 5-5. Hangover game, Spike says. Maybe. I don't know. But Arkansas is pretty bad.
Remember, they had, speaking of teams that had them high ranked, there was a point in the season when Arkansas was ranked 10th.
There was a point in time in the season where Notre Dame was ranked 5th. Like we can play that game if you want to play that game.
Okay, to be fair with
Notre Dame, hold on, real quick.
They're actually not as bad as what they were at the beginning of the year. But these teams like Kentucky and Arkansas are actually worse than what they actually were in the beginning of the year. It's a complete difference.
Yeah. And by the way, like I'm willing to say Tennessee had a bit of just responding to Spikes again. It's one thing for me to say Tennessee had a hangover because they eventually took the game over, right? They eventually, you give Tennessee a total pass on the game, not looking totally dominant right away. And then eventually, the talent and the depth of the roster eventually takes over, as what happens with college football. But when that doesn't happen, then, you kind of don't get a pass.
Yeah.
Of course, all of these SEC teams are heading into their cupcake week next week, so
yeah,
maybe
it makes you think,
maybe we'll get some super chaos.
Was LSU overlooking this game here? Like neither team just
overlooking
looked good.
Because they're preparing for who next week?
No one.
It's cupcake week in the SEC, baby. What you talking about?
God. Daniels only threw for 86 yards in this game.
He's not much of a thrower.
And no, it wasn't raining with 50-mile-an-hour winds either, Jared.
No, it was not. Although I do hear it was slightly cold by Southern standards.
Where was it? Temperature? Where was the temperature?
I think it was like in the 50s.
Oh boy. Oh no. Reminds me of that bowl game down in Miami when the Hurricanes were all bundled up and the Wisconsin players on the other end were jumping up, just short sleeves and all that.
In Tampa Bay, no less.
Yeah. All right. Purdue beats Illinois 31-24.
Kyle, can we now stop pretending that Illinois is good?
Who thought Illinois was good?
That's a fair question. They've to this point largely just been running through a bad Big Ten West, and good God, is the Big Ten West bad? It's so bad.
They're going to lose a third in a row here. They lost to Sparty. Now they lost to Purdue.
You don't say that on this podcast. Do not hand Michigan a win on this podcast. You don't know. You don't know what the birds have up their sleeves.
Illinois could lose their third game.
Thank you. Do we have an early line on that one? And by the way, we might need to talk about what the hell's happening in the SEC West right now. 3-team?
17.
Is it a 3-team tie? 17. Illinois is the 17-point dog in that game.
You wish it was a 3-way tie, Jerry.
Is it a 4-way?
It is a 4-way, baby. Purdue, Illinois, Iowa, and Minnesota, which I believe Purdue has the tiebreaker.
Based on what? Because all of those teams have beat the other teams somehow, some way. Do we need to look up the Big Ten? Austin, are you still around? Austin, what are the Big Ten tie-breaking rules?
Oh God. Hold on. Oh God. Who has Iowa lost to? Iowa lost to Illinois. Shit.
Austin cares.
Yeah, no,
I don't care.
I don't know. Ooh, we're gonna have to
you know what?
That one out. But not right now. But not right now.
No, not on the podcast. Not on the podcast. Because as Austin astutely pointed out, he doesn't care. And if he doesn't care, I don't think anyone else does. And quite frankly, I'm already losing interest in it. What's the next game?
Louisville and Clemson. I thought this was going to be a little bit closer. So, I mean, I guess hats off to Clemson for pulling out the win here.
Yeah. Oh, hello, Buckeye Esquire.
That's it? That's it, maybe?
Yeah.
DJ's still, like, he was okay in this game. He was okay. I don't think it was anything spectacular. He was, 19 for 27, 185 yards and a touchdown. And he tried to rush it 15 times and only got 32 yards here.
But Kyle, I'm being told that he's going to be the starting quarterback at Ohio State next year.
Stop it.
If anyone tells you that, I'm giving you permission. And Buckeye Esquire, this is parody. This is clearly no reasonable person would actually take this as a legal permission. No. I need you to listen, Buckeye Esquire. I'm saying that no reasonable person would actually would actually interpret what I'm about to say as an actual call to action. That's not what a reasonable person would do. If anyone tells you that DJ Uiagalelei is going to transfer to Ohio State and become the starting quarterback next year, feel free to slap them in the face.
Yes, please.
But once again, no reasonable person would actually take that as actual permission, as I do not have the authority to grant such permission.
Mm-hmm. All right, moving on. Nebraska.
Throttled.
Nebraska doing Nebraska things.
Michigan doing Michigan things, if we're being fair.
Yeah.
Jared knows the proper verbiage for the standard for the standard of review for this incitement. And he respects that. And I appreciate that.
Right. Michigan beats Nebraska 34-3. I mean, Nebraska's already a bad team here, but I mean, you got to really start paying attention to what Michigan's doing here. They held Nebraska. Yes, Nebraska's a really bad team, but they held them to under 150 yards of total offense. That's crazy.
They ran Corum like 20 times in the first half. Hats off to Corum and his trainers and the trainers at Michigan for keeping him healthy.
Yeah.
They're running him until the wheels fall off, which
they might because JJ McCarthy didn't look all that great either. He was under 50% completion in this game for 129 yards and 2 touchdowns. He did not look good in this game.
Yeah, Michigan
has become a one-dimensional offense now.
JJ McCarthy, and maybe it's because of his injury and maybe it's not. JJ McCarthy can't throw the ball down the field with any sort of anything. He can't throw the ball more than 10 yards down the field with any high level of accuracy, right? So they are very one-dimensional. Ohio, this will be a Cody Simon game. This will be a game where you need to have 3 linebackers on the field. Why don't they bitch about that kind of one-sided the way we do with a passing team? Maybe they do. I don't spend much time on Michigan forums. Maybe they do.
All right, moving on.
And also their standards are lower, if we're being honest. I meant the national media. Does the national media complain about Ohio State being one-sided? No. I think that's just coming from Ohio State fans.
Yeah. No,
and Desmond Howard, but who gives a fuck what Desmond Howard has to say about anything?
Yeah, let's please just ignore ignore that guy. He's an attention whore. He wants the attention, and the more attention you get, you're just feeling him. Just everybody just ignore what he says and just move on with your lives.
Or feeding him.
All right. NC State losing to Boston College. Did not see this one coming. I thought NC State would have had this in hand here, but man, yeah, NC State just, I mean, what do you expect when you have Tim Beck as your offensive coordinator? And also that you don't have your starting quarterback as well, and that really hurts your offense too. What it is for NC State here.
Yeah, we were talking about someone who was in the social screen. Remind me, who are we talking about? A team that's like a slightly above 500 team that's playing way better than that because they happen to have a really good quarterback. Who the hell was I talking about? Wake Forest? Yeah, Wake Forest.
Oh, wow. Look at this stat, Jared. You ready for this stat?
Let me finish that thought. Wake Forest is like a 500 football team, but because Hartman's such a good quarterback, they're just playing above that right now. And that's who NC State was. But they don't have their quarterback anymore, so now they're just back to being NC State again. Same thing with Pittsburgh last year versus this year.
Boston College had 23 rushing attempts for -1 yard.
Wow.
And they won this game.
That's a rarity. That is a statistical outlier. All right. Next, Kyle.
Penn State. This is another. Yeah, Penn State. We mentioned this earlier. Penn State beating Maryland 30-0. Well, actually, we mentioned this in Monday's episode at the end there. 30-0 there. And Ohio State playing Maryland this weekend, and early odds have Ohio State as a 25-point favorite here. And you see this score here. You got to be thinking about taking the over, right, Jared?
Why are you always doing this to me with the over? You take Ohio State with the points. He does it, guys. He does it just to piss me off.
I do.
You take Ohio State with the points next week, especially if you can get that 25 number, because I have a feeling it's not going to stay there.
So speaking of like Michigan holding Nebraska to under 150 yards, Penn State did the same with Maryland, held Maryland to 134 offensive yards in this game.
Insane. Absolutely insane.
What also was insane was Alabama almost losing to Mississippi State. They end up winning 30 to 20.
Just Mississippi.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry, Mississippi State.
That's all right.
Ole Miss, yeah. Ole Miss almost beating Alabama 30 to 20.
This is one of the better Ole Miss teams we've seen in a while. This is one of the worse Alabama teams we've seen in a while. Alabama still wins because even when Alabama is bad, they're not bad. They're just Alabama bad.
Yeah.
Alabama bad is still like a top 10 team.
God, and terrible play calling towards the end.
Zach says the era of Saban is done. God, I wish I had your confidence. I get it. He's an old
terrible play calling at the end of that game too. Like you called it, you call a timeout, and that's your best play there, Lane Kiffin. That was your best play, really?
Yeah. When you're right, you're right, and Kyle, you're right.
All right. Let's see. UCF beats Tulane 38 to 31.
Congratulations, UCF. They'll now take the crown as the top group of 5 team. We'll see where the committee puts them, and maybe they can get into a New Year's Six Bowl.
Mm-hmm. All right. Kansas State beats Baylor convincingly 31 to 3. I thought this was going to be a lot closer game here. What was it? It was at Baylor by a 3-point favorite, but only ended up putting up 3 points in this game.
Yeah, that always felt like a weird line. Austin says, in regards to Tulane and UCF, that they're set up for a rematch in the conference championship game. Winner gets a New Year's Six Bowl, not necessarily. He also says that Kansas State and TCU having a rematch for the Big 12 title is likely, which is fun.
Yeah.
By the way, like they only have to put a group of 6 team in a New Year's Six Bowl. I think the number is 15. If they're ranked in the top, I want to say it's 15. Incorrect?
I don't remember. Yeah.
Highest G5 auto build, no matter what. When did they change that?
I think they changed that recently. I can't remember.
Always has been. No, that is not true.
Yeah, it has not always been that case.
Since the college football playoff? We'll figure this out later.
All right.
Maybe I'm thinking
Georgia.
Maybe I'm thinking of old BCS stuff. Maybe I'm thinking of BCS stuff.
All right. Georgia beating
He's saying it very empathetically.
Georgia
That's
beating
true.
Mississippi State 45 to 19. It was a 17-12 game at halftime, and Georgia just Georgia is like so good on defense when they really put their mind to that. They just stopped Mississippi State. Like it's crazy how good this Georgia defense is with all the talent that they lost last year and what they're able to do this year. So
yeah,
just another good win for Georgia.
I agree. Georgia concerned. I actually think Ohio State's a better football team than Georgia. Like when in doubt, pick the quarterback, and I'll take Stroud every day over Stetson Bennett. But I do worry about and again, I think I said this during the social screen as well. I worry about Georgia from a from a matchup standpoint with Ohio State in the same way that I worry about Ohio State and Michigan from a matchup standpoint for Ohio State, as I do believe Georgia is basically just Michigan on steroids, right? Like, metaphorically speaking, in case that's not clear. They're just Michigan leveled up. And so I do worry about that from a matchup standpoint for Ohio State, should the playoffs be in their future.
Yep. All right. Let's see here. Moving on to Washington. Yeah, this is a pretty big team chaos here. Washington defeats Oregon 37-34.
Yeah. When it came down to it, Penix was just up and ready and was just too hard to beat. It was just like in a game in which someone had to score last, Penix got in there and scored. Jared, no. Don't act like you're too good for this. Don't act like you're too good for this, Austin.
Yeah,
very stiff competition, Spikes. Very stiff.
That third quarter was just like when the game was. It was a 13-10 halftime game, and we were all thinking, "Oh, this should have been a lot higher score game." Well, then the third quarter happened when there was 35 points scored in it. It was just a back and forth ordeal, and it was actually pretty entertaining to watch. And then, yeah, Washington just ended up making more plays in that fourth quarter there.
Yes. Everyone read the chat. Wake falls to North Carolina. This is as I promised on the Friday Sloop Picks episode. This was a great quarterback game. I like both of these quarterbacks a lot. North Carolina ends up winning it. This game felt a lot like the East Coast version of the Washington-Oregon game. Just one of the teams was going to score last. It happened to be UNC, a last second, or not a last second, but a late interception set North Carolina up for the win. That's really about it.
Yeah. I wanted to go back to Oregon real quick. So right now in the Pac-12, because Pac-12 doesn't have divisions, which Big Ten.
We're also not done talking about the Pac-12 and upsets.
Do that soon. Right now it is a 3-way tie. Well, not really tie, because USC has played one more conference game. So if USC beats UCLA, which more on UCLA soon, they get the top seed, or they get an automatic to the Pac-12 championship game, and it's going to be down to this weekend's game of Oregon and Utah. Whoever wins that game is pretty much going to be the one that's going to get that second spot in the Pac-12 championship. All right. We'll skip forward and we'll talk about UCLA real quick here then, Jared. UCLA losing 34-28 to Arizona.
4-6 Arizona.
I did not watch this game because this was a classic Pac-12 after dark game.
I watched some of the beginning of this game, but I'm an old man and I fell asleep. Just gonna look at the stats real quick here. Arizona was a 20-point dog in this game, and then they turn around, win it by a touchdown. This is just a huge letdown for Chip Kelly and UCLA in a season that was supposed to be. Chip Kelly's been there a while now. It's not gone great. It seems like they're finally getting things going, and you kind of just don't go from a 500 team to a New Year's Day 6 team overnight in one season. So kind of never expected them to finish the season like in the top 10 or top 12, but didn't expect them to lose to Arizona. Maybe Kyle, were looking ahead to USC next week.
Maybe. I think the key stat here, I'm just looking here. UCLA was 2 for 5 on 4th downs.
I wonder when those happened.
Yeah, not sure, but
Oregon, by the way, had a couple brain dead, and I think maybe ended up costing them that game.
Yes,
choices to go for it on 4th down, like inside their own 30-yard line on 2 separate occasions. They got one of them, they didn't get the other one, and it very well may have cost them. TCU and Texas. Kyle, this was a defensive struggle.
I know.
In the Big 12?
I was about to say pick the over. The over under was 65. 65, and it was only 27 points scored in this game.
Yeah. Everyone's
ribbit is
everyone's favorite Wonder Boy, Quinn Ewers, not looking like the future 1-1 NFL draft pick that everyone was expecting him to be. He's not seen a pass he's not willing to overthrow. He's not putting it together. He's
17
he's still
39.
He was injured. He's still pretty young in his career. I'm not trying to bury him or anything, but it's not looking good so far.
No. All right, and the last game here, Utah defeats Stanford 42-7. Yeah, it is what it is.
Is what it is.
All right, Jared, let's pull up the screen here and let's get our new week 10, week 11, week 11.
It should be, yeah, I will.
Week 11 tier list.
All right. Chat and chat. Where do you guys think we need to address things first? What obvious changes need to be made? I feel like asking the chat. Move UCLA
goes down to B tier.
Yeah, and I think they just fall to B. They don't need to fall any further than that.
Very end of B. Very end.
Ole Miss as well.
Ole Miss as well. How many
Oregon?
losses does Ole Miss have?
That is number 2 for them.
Okay. I'm just looking here real quick. All right.
Oregon.
All right. Oregon goes down as well. Yep.
Kyle, we're almost out of 1-loss teams. We still have Clemson hanging down there in the B tier.
You almost want to put Clemson back in A tier, but I am not ready for that.
Kyle, they're one of 5 1-loss teams. Well, hold on.
Yeah.
6, because we now can move UCF up.
You want to move Coastal Carolina, who only has 1 loss?
Not especially. I don't even know. I don't even think I have a Coastal Carolina logo on the board. Utah for an A filler. We don't do fillers in A. You have to. Texas in M tier now, Zach says. I think that's a proper call. I think that is a good proper call. Kyle, do you agree?
Yep. And then Illinois, you can just move to the right with the rest of the gang there.
Hold on.
To the right. They can go with everybody else.
We have to keep track of the Big Ten West, maybe. We'll put them over there. Do we?
I don't think we do.
UCF has 2 losses? Excuse me, not UCF. Oh, no, UCF does have 2 losses.
They do.
Yeah. Never mind. I got confused. It was Tulane that would have jumped
UCF
up.
Out of B. UCF doesn't belong in B, my opinion.
I might leave them in B. UCF lost to Eastern Carolina.
If that's the case, if you're putting 2 lost teams in there, then Ole Miss stays there. Then you got to put in Washington. You got to put in Washington in B tier.
Y'all are right.
They got that big win over Oregon.
I'm not
They have two
I'm not
losses.
against this. I'm not against this.
They have 2 losses there.
UNC possibly to A. They did beat a ranked Sam Hartman.
I put Penn State. I put Penn State in B tier as well. And I know their schedule hasn't shown it.
Kentucky to M.
No, Kentucky's always been bad. Like, no, I wouldn't even
with it. They don't even deserve it, is what you're saying?
No. Yeah, I know they lost to Vandy, but
they lost to Vandy, and that was Vandy's first win in 36 SEC competitions.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay.
I think those are like all the 2 loss. Yeah, those are all the 2 loss teams that I care about putting in there. But as far as to move anybody in A tier, I don't think so. I think this is pretty much these 7 teams are pretty much going to be your teams who are going to make the playoffs.
Do we move up Clemson and North Carolina based purely on the fact that they have 1 loss and they're in a big boy conference? I mean, you're allowed to say no to that. And chat, I want your feedback on that as well. Clemson and North Carolina, should they be in A tier?
How many wins over? Hold on. How many wins? Hold on. In Clemson, how many wins over current top 25 teams does Clemson have?
My assumption would be 0.
The answer is 0. The same with UNC.
Wait a minute. Yeah. Well, Wake, I mean, I guess they knocked Wake. Oh, no, Wake was not ranked.
Yeah, Wake's not ranked now. NC State is not ranked now. Syracuse is not ranked. Yeah, their schedule is horrendous. And they had that really bad loss to Notre Dame just a couple weeks ago. Yeah, no, they stay in B tier.
Florida State. Clemson beat Florida State. Yeah, just barely.
Oh, yep, they have 1. Okay, they have 1.
So there's a top 25.
They don't belong in A tier. No, they do not belong in A tier. Because can you sit here and say, oh, Clemson belongs into the same group of teams that has beaten Alabama, has beaten Ole Miss, that has also beaten
Austin says USC, LSU, and Clemson are on the same level. I don't agree. I do
not agree. No.
I think Clemson loses straight up to all 3 teams in the A tier, and I don't think any of those games are overly close.
And I'm going to give LSU a pass because it could have been a hangover from their win over Alabama there. But I almost wanted to put LSU in the B tier, but I'm going to give them the pass because of just they had that hangover. But
you almost kind of want to forgive them for the Florida State loss. It was week 1. They had they had new coaching staff, new personnel. I kind of don't want to kill them for that. And they look like of course the Arkansas game doesn't help this argument, but they just look like a better team than Clemson.
Yeah, the difference is the teams that LSU has recently beaten, Ole Miss and Alabama.
Right.
It's one of the best pair of wins to anybody right now. I think Georgia is probably the other team that you would look at that would have better wins.
LSU has 2 losses. That has to matter. It matters. Because without those 2 losses, they'd probably be in the S tier instead of TCU. It matters. Blasphemy. I know how you feel about TCU, Austin. By the way, speaking of S tier, are we standing pat up there?
Yep. Yep. No changes. No changes here.
I agree. Oh, we've made Austin mad again. He wants TCU above Michigan. I'm not going to do it.
No.
I'm not going to do it. TCU's strength of schedule is so much better. Yeah, but they barely win games, whereas Michigan wins games convincingly. I'm sorry, eye test matters. It's not just that you beat teams. Sometimes it's how you beat teams and when you beat teams. I would have an S+ tier just for Georgia and Ohio State. I mean, the idea here is that we're picking the 4 playoff teams, but I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah. No, I think S and A tier. I put my stamp for week 11 approval there. I think that's how that is. For the B tier, I think that's fine too. Utah, not in this order, probably. Maybe
we don't order
sure.
B. I have no interest in trying to order B.
But what you have there, I agree. I agree with the B tier. They have a chance to make some splash, but I don't think any of those teams have a shot to make the S tier unless some complete chaos happens, and then maybe you can start talking about Clemson and or UNC being put into the mix there. But right now, unless some complete chaos happens, nobody in the B tier would get into the playoffs.
They would all need a ton of help. List, to be honest. Don't be a sore. Don't be that big of a TCU homeboy, Austin. You're
that would include
yourself.
Like Michigan losing to Illinois, Ohio State losing to Maryland, Georgia losing to Kentucky, like those kind of losses.
Yeah. I'm just sort of reassessing C here a bit, setting up a bit of a new batter's box.
TCU losing to Baylor this weekend. Another loss that if you're a UNC or Clemson fan would need to happen.
Yeah. Looking over, who's it's Illinois, it's Iowa, it's who are the other teams in the Big Ten West right now? It's not Wisconsin because they lost, right? Purdue. Just trying to get our Big Ten teams in order here.
Oh God.
Minnesota, that's who I was forgetting. I was forgetting Minnesota.
Purdue, Illinois, Iowa, and Minnesota.
Anyone else belong with UCF, Kansas State, and Florida State as sort of just teams to have in the batter's box there? Am I forgetting anyone? Should someone else be up there?
The batter's box for what?
Just this higher area of C tier. That's all.
Oklahoma State, Oregon State. There are 3 lost teams.
Oklahoma State got demoted to M tier.
All right.
They went on a 3-game slide. You can't do that.
What about the Orange Beaver there?
Make a case. Make a case for that Orange Beaver. With these Pac West schools.
I can't.
Win-loss. Who's their best win? What's their worst loss?
They are 7-3. Their best win, Boise State or Cal. And they have losses to USC by 3. They lost by 18 points to Utah and 3 to Washington.
Honestly, those are some good losses.
Yeah.
If your best win is Cal, you stay there. Yeah, I agree, Austin.
Yeah,
I agree.
All right. No, I think this is good. I think we should lock this in. for our tier list. And for those listening, we have Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU in our S tier in that order. And
are we sold on the A tier rankings?
Yes. I will fight you if you try to add anybody else.
No. I mean the order.
Oh, the order. No, I like the order too. I like the order. And then in A tier, we have USC is our 5th, Tennessee 6th, and then LSU 7th.
Okay. And then in the B tier, in no particular order, Utah, Bama, Clemson, UNC, UCLA, Ole Miss, Oregon, Washington, and Penn State. I think Clemson should be A tier because they have a chance to make the playoffs, to be honest. Austin, I was trying to make that case, but Kyle wasn't budging. So
no, they need help. They need help to.
I think a lot of teams in B tier could get in with enough help.
So here's the funny thing. Okay, they have.
Well, not any of the teams.
They have one win over a top 25 team, which is Florida State right now. They play Miami, South Carolina, and then UNC to end the season. And then Clemson's going to have to play UNC a second time in a row. And let's just say Clemson beats UNC twice. Clemson or UNC then is going to have 3 losses, and they're going to be unranked because of that. Yeah. And so Clemson's only win is over a top 25 team might be Florida State here. Their schedule is not going to look good.
Florida State was a lot worse at the beginning of the year. If TCU loses, Austin says, if TCU loses, Clemson probably gets in.
Nope.
They put in Tennessee.
They put in Tennessee or
LSU before USC they put in Clemson, I think. I think put in USC as well, but USC is not going to win this 3-game. They're not going to win all of these. They have USC gets into the playoffs if they win out. Because this 3-game series that they have coming up is intense.
UCLA, Notre Dame, and then most likely Oregon.
Yeah. You win all 3 of those games, you get into the playoffs. That being said, they're not going to win all 3 of those games, so who cares? They're not going to do it. They're not that good. They're not good enough to pull off 3 consecutive wins against those teams. So whatever.
Oh shit. I didn't realize this. If Utah wins out, Utah plays Oregon this weekend and then Colorado, they actually get the top seed because they would have the tiebreaker over USC. So Utah
top seed doesn't mean anything though, right?
No.
Caleb Williams,
the victor, whoever wins Utah and Oregon is pretty much going to be joining USC.
Oh, did they not play it in Levi anymore? I did not know that, Austin. That's kind of cool that they play it at home.
Oh, and here's another thing too. I know you talked about like USC having a tough schedule. I mean, Oregon has a tough schedule here. They just lost to Washington. They play Utah. Playing Utah this week. Oregon, and then the last week, their last regular season game, they play current ranked Oregon State. And then they would play like USC in the Pac-12 championship. That's a tough slate for Oregon as well.
Yeah, that is a tough slate. What's TCU's upcoming schedule? Do we think they get in? What is the likelihood, Kyle?
TCU wins out, they're in. I mean, they have Baylor and then Iowa State. And then looks like most likely Kansas State then.
Yeah, I think it's
Kansas State. Kansas State plays West Virginia and Kansas.
Yeah. Yeah. That is a tough upcoming schedule, but it's achievable. That is the likeliest scenario to you right now. KSU will win the Big 12 title. Ohio State, Georgia, Tennessee, TCU. I don't know that Tennessee is as much of an automatic in as you think they are, Austin. And I say that based mostly off of the fact that they lost so handedly to Georgia. Had that been a close game, I think Michigan or Ohio State, if that game like ends in overtime and then the winner goes on to win the Big Ten, which they should, the Big 12 or the Big 10 East is, or West, God, the Big 12, the Big 10 West is terrible. We've said it a million times, but if that losing team is OSU, there's a case. Yeah. If it's Michigan, no shot. I wouldn't say no shot. I think if Ohio State beats Michigan in overtime,
I agree with you, Austin.
I think if Ohio State beats Michigan like in overtime by a field goal, I think that Michigan team gets in ahead of Tennessee, and I know that Tennessee has a better lineup of wins. Like they have a better resume from a like who did you beat standpoint. I 100% acknowledge that. But I think like Michigan can sit there and say we never lost in regulation, whereas Tennessee was not even in competition with Georgia. And I think that matters. They'll both be 1 losses. Neither of them will be conference champions. Neither of them would even have played for their conference championship.
Yeah.
All
right, Jared.
It's a toss-up. I acknowledge it's a toss-up, and I'm not saying, unlike you. See, here's the thing, Austin and Kyle. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying you shouldn't be so sure that you're right. Does that make sense? I feel like there's
just having fun with it, Jared.
I understand. Of course, so am I.
But we're taking this seriously, guys.
But isn't that what the show is? Me taking everything super seriously and you guys making fun of me for it. Isn't that what we do here?
Are you finally? We're going to go into ask
Kyle pulled that punch.
All right, let's go into some Ask Slipcast questions here, shall we?
What punch did you pull, Kyle? Ask Slipcast 1. What punch did you just pull?
Nomad wants to know, can we get a Sloop Pick standing update? Specifically, where is Jared currently sitting at? Where are you sitting at, Jared?
In my basement.
Yeah, that's where you're at in the in the rankings there.
No, I meant I'm sitting in my basement right now. The basement of my house.
I didn't do too bad.
We were tied going into the week. How did we do in the Sloop Picks this week?
I went 5 for 2.
And me?
I went 5 for 2 this week, and then you went 4 for 3.
So you're 1 game ahead of me.
I am 1 game ahead of you. I am tied for 5th with Austin. And tied for 5th.
No, Kyle. You're first and I'm second.
Okay. And the world has been corrected. All right. All right. Some other questions from Nomad here. Why would anyone in the media describe TCU's win as an upset? They were an undefeated number 4 team playing a 3-loss number 18.
Because Texas has more famous uniforms, and to be fair, Vegas had them like plus 7.5.
Ugh, yeah. And I think
so. From a Vegas standpoint, it was an upset,
right? Who picked Texas? Anybody pick Texas there? I'm gonna call you out if you pick Texas. Oh, there's a couple of people.
Name and shame,
Chad,
Kyle. Name and shame.
Chad, Duncan.
Matt
and Suncard.
He was our guest picker too. that loss will be that loss has been recorded and uploaded to YouTube
Sun Card
for the rest of humanity.
Sun Card went 1 for 6.
That is not how you perform when the spotlight is on you, Sun Card. When the sun is shining on you, that is not how you.
Yeah. All right. Does Jimbo get fired before the end of the season?
No. His contract is fully guaranteed. No.
All right. And last question.
I just want to. Yeah, it's like 80 million remaining. And I think it's actually more than that.
Yeah,
but that's how much is remaining on his deal. Now they could it's not necessarily like a buyout. They could set up a deal where they, pay him $8 million a year over the next 10 years or whatever the numbers actually are. Cause I'm not sure if it's 80 million or not, but it's
all right. And last question here. We talked a little bit about this already. Does TCU deserve to be ranked higher than Michigan based on strength of record? Strength of record, and
we already had that. We already had that argument.
Yep.
No, because eye test matters and how you win matters.
All right, and that's it. That is all the questions, and we're right on time. Jared, you got anything else before we wrap it up?
Just want to encourage everyone to check out our Patreon page. I do. Hold on. Kyle, hey Kyle, you want to do some plugs for me real quick while I look something up?
Do some plugs? Yeah, sure. So hit up be sure to check out everything we have over at thesloopcast.com. There you can find everything that you need to related to your favorite duo Buckeye podcasters. When did Tony and Tom get a
but your second favorite
there you can get to our YouTube channel, our Instagram, our podcast channel, our merch store. We have both the Sloopcast merch store and our 7071 merch store. Some great merchandise there. You can help support your favorite Sloopcast podcasters here. Again, that's thesloopcast.com, and you can find all of the links in there to get you going, though.
All right. And I wanted to look him up.
And don't forget, and Austin reminded me, and don't forget discord.thesloopcast.com, where we have a lot of fun all weekend and all week, talk about Buckeyes and shenanigans and all that fun stuff. And if you like us so much, you can get into our Sloop Cats only section, which is our patron section. If you like us so much, it's only as little as $3 a month.
Speaking of, we have a new patron as of 2 days ago as we record this. So I'm going to say thank you to Jim. Jim, I don't know if you want me to say it. You have a unique last name, so I don't want to totally out you if you don't want me to do that. But I just want to thank Jim for signing up over at patreon.thesloopcast.com. I know I almost never say my second name out loud because it's super unique. So just didn't want to totally out you, Jim. Yeah, it's not that Jim. Unless of course he's using a different last name on Patreon, which is possible. All right. Thanks for doing all the plugs, Kyle. Does that mean I do Jared's corner, or are you still going to do Kyle's corner?
Ugh. Do you have anything else to talk about?
No, I did not prepare a damn thing.
I can
basketball
talk about Justin.
Oh, Justin Fields had a big day today. Basketball has started. You have some things.
Justin Fields needs help. He needs other players on his team there. What did he end up? He had another decent game. He broke
his single game record for rushing yards by a quarterback. Didn't he just set the record last week?
He had over 300 total yards of offense and 4 total touchdowns.
That's insane. Running like that shortens your career. Chicago, help them out. I mean, they're trying. They just went and got a wide receiver from Pittsburgh. So like they're trying.
No,
It's got Claypool.
No, he broke most rushing yards in consecutive weeks or in 3 weeks combined or something like that. Because last week he ran for 178 yards. This week he ran 147. Yeah, that was funny. So one drive he throws a pick six to former teammate Okuda. So Okuda got a pick six. The next drive, Fields run for like a 67 yard touchdown run. That next drive, I thought it was kind of a turn of events there that Justin Fields had.
A little bit of revenge never hurt anybody. That is the least true thing I've ever said.
And when he ran that 67-yard touchdown, that last player that he beat who dove for his legs at the 2-yard line was Okuda.
Yeah. I was about to say maybe it's justice, but no, it's just revenge. You hate to see Buckeye on Buckeye crime, but you like to see Buckeyes succeed. I have no idea. Kyle, we're at the end of the 2nd episode, which means my brain has turned to mush, and I think it's time to end.
I agree.
Okay. You get to the end of the 2nd episode, and I don't even know what the hell I'm saying half the time. So instead of continuing to talk, I'll just say tonight's ending music is Playing to Vapors, Columbus-based band. They're amazing. Go check them out. They play live all over the city. Again, if you're listening to the audio version of this, just stay right where you are. The song's coming. If you're watching this on YouTube, we can't play music on YouTube, but you can check out the link that I will provide in the show notes. So with all of that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course, support your local podcasters. Once again, this is Playing to Vapors.